How do you track an employee's progress? That's going to be the topic of today's session. And disclaimer right out the bat, I'm not going to give you any tips or tricks on compliance or give you any legal recommendations, okay? We're not HR specialists. I'm going to just talk about the real world of how you keep people on track with their growth, their development, and their training. Okay, so let's dive into this today. I'm going to start with a bit of a story. So there's a good friend of mine who built a company called Sona Med Spas, and his Byron. And Byron built his locations from 1 to 22 or 23. And we used to meet about every 6 weeks for sushi late in the afternoon, and we would just talk about business. And he really became a mentor of mine. And he taught me a lot about running medical practices. And I asked him one day about staff training and keeping people on track. And he listened to my tale of woe and everything. And he goes, well, let me tell you how we did it. And he goes, it's going to probably surprise you. And he said, I really hesitated putting this model in place because of the amount of money that was going to require to do it. But once I did it, it completely transformed my business in a positive way. And we went from 8 locations to 20 in a very short amount of time. And he said, great, you got my attention. What is it? So his locations were in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Arkansas, and Dallas. And his main location was here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And what they did is when they hired somebody, even if it was somebody who was doing injections or somebody who was working the front desk, every employee that got hired.
Hey, I'm Matthew Galogli, and I'm a Maverick. Well, what is a Maverick? A Maverick goes against the grain. We find our own way. And if you're sick and tired of being pushed around by the insurance companies, come join us. We'll show you the way out. And you'll love medicine again.
Came to Charlotte and worked in their training center, which was attached to one of their locations, for 4 straight weeks. And what they did was you would fly in on Sundays and you would meet and you would learn a module Monday through Thursday. And Thursday afternoon, there'd be a test. If you didn't pass the test, you had to make a decision. You could come back next week and you could go through that module again, or you could quit. And if you quit, they would give you money to quit. And he said it was a huge expense. We had to fly people in, put them up in a hotel, buy them meals, do all of these things. He said it completely transformed the way our business ran. Now, the funny thing is that when he sold the company, the people that bought it over time got rid of that, and they'd had some challenges with consistency across the practices. Now, it's a great example of understanding of controlling the messaging of your brand and the culture of your organization. Everything lives and dies in culture. So in culture is like leftovers in the back of the fridge. If you don't check on them regularly, what happens is they get pushed to the back, and then you open up that Tupperware container and you're not really sure what that used to be. It's this green moldy mess now, and you're not even sure what the heck it was at one time. That's what happens with culture and values if you don't check on them regularly. So how you keep track on training for employees is it's a daily thing. So what we do in our organizations is that once a quarter, we meet for planning our next 90 days. Now, we only do planning 90 days in advance. We don't do year-long planning. We'll talk about our goals for the next year, but we never do annual planning. We just focus on the next quarter. The second thing we do is that we then have a monthly meeting that's about 2 to 3 hours that just does a really strong check-in of where we are. And then the other thing we do is we meet weekly for 45 minutes where the people that are responsible for particular areas check in with the entire team and they tell us what's going on. At the property level, what we do is we have daily huddles. And those daily huddles look like this. Every single day, we meet. If we see patients at 9 o'clock, we meet at like 8:42. Everybody has to be there, present. As I always joke, your jacket has to be out, makeup has to be on. You can't be sitting there eating a sandwich. You got to be dressed, ready to go, ready to tackle the day at 8:42. The reason why we schedule them at 8:42 is people show up on time. If it was 8:45, people saunter in. So we always had like an odd time that we started the meeting. And what we do is it's about a 3 to 5 minute meeting. And what we do is we go through the numbers of the day before, we post it up on the board. And then the other thing we do is we have a value of the day. And that value of the day or value of the week, whatever you want to do, what we do is we go around the room and we have somebody recognize someone that lived that value out in the organization the day before. And what it does is it creates a positive reinforcement loop and cycle to get people focused on managing everything based on the values. So this question of how do you keep track of employees or training for employees It has to be a daily thing, and it has to be based on the values of the organization. Because if you create the values of the organization, you create what's called a self-leading organization. You'll hear this from great championship teams all the time in sports. And they go, our coaches never had to get on us about doing the right thing. We were self-policing. We were a self-leading organization. That's the type of environment that you want to have in your company. And that's done by creating the right culture, creating the right values, and only keeping people and hiring people in the team that are 100% value and culture fit. If they're not, no matter how good they are, you get rid of them. And so what happens is you create this environment of growth, you create this environment of training, you create this environment of learning, you create this environment of doing the right thing so that you have a group of people that they're leading themselves. They don't need you hovering over them. And as a friend of mine once said, riding them like Zorro into the setting sun. Okay? So this is how you keep track. It's a daily thing. It's a daily conversation. It's a daily growth. It's a daily thing of saying, these are the culture, this is the values of the organization. With what we're doing right now, does that tie in? Is this going to move those values of the organization further along, or is it going to pull them back? And you have people lead, learn, and grow in that way. Hope that helps you. I know that, look, keeping track of employees and keeping track of training can be troublesome, but if you create that environment, the self-leading organization and great people, you're going to find you don't really need to do that much. They'll do all the work for you. Want to learn more about values, culture, and creating a self-leading organization? Well, then here's what I would recommend you do. Go get our book, The Anatomy of a Seven-Figure Medical Practice. It is the book for how to grow and scale your cash practice. It doesn't matter if you're starting from scratch. It doesn't matter if you're inserting it into an existing insurance practice. This book will show you the way. It's exactly how we grew our practices from startup, 3 locations in 18 months. It's the exact same manual that my doctors use today. Get it? You can see the link below. I'll give it to you for free. Just pay $7.95 for shipping and handling. It's The Anatomy of a Seven-Figure Medical Practice. It's yours free. Click the link below.